Hello everybody, welcome. I'm No02 and thank you for watching this video. We have here an Act-6 solo deck. This is the latest one that I've been using to beat Act-6 in no hope mode, in offline mode. So this is designed to be played with the bots very specifically. This deck, as you may be noticing, embraces some new philosophies, embraces some of the new cards, some new ideas and strategies that have emerged because of the sort of progression of the game and updates and things like that. And so we have to start, though, what's not in this deck, and that is a copper card here. We don't have Share the Wealth. Why is that? It's because of two main reasons. And notice how things sort of connect through this deck in this sort of new train of thought that we have going on here. But the first one, no copper card, because the bots are all running Bounty Hunter. We have 3 Bounty Hunters split between the 3 bots, and that's more copper than we've ever had access to before, ever. So from mission to mission, as you're eliminating mutations and completing missions, you get all of that copper that Bounty Hunter has been generating for your bots funneled back into you. Tons and tons of copper. And so even though more copper is typically better, there's now an option to potentially cut a copper card out of your deck if you don't need to. And so we're cutting it out here. There's also another benefit here that we have going on as far as not needing a copper card very specifically, and that is we are not getting any slot upgrades. We've never really been interested in getting quick slot upgrades. We've never really been interested in getting support slot upgrades. Those are rather weighty investments into things that you then sort of like just use for a mission and then it goes away and sort of, use and burn it. But we have always been interested in grenade slot upgrade, the offensive slot upgrades. Why? Because we typically run grenades. Grenades solve a lot of problems. You typically can't die so long as you still have grenades left over. And we would use grenades to deal with the Tallboy problem, high health mutations, as well as to help us deal with bosses when they showed up in no hope mode. Being able to sort of like nuke a boss down quickly if things aren't going well. If we had to take a fight in a bad place. But there's an issue with running grenades in Act 5 and in Act 6. Those are short missions. Those missions, getting your offensive slot upgrades is a little inconsistent. And so we were left with this problem. Either we need to invest tons of cards into making our grenades a viable thing. And that doesn't always feel the best because grenades are a finite thing in the mission. So if things went extra bad and you ran out of grenades, all of a sudden half of your deck became useless. And I didn't like to invest too heavily into it. But then we were left to the RNG of getting the offensive slot upgrades that we needed. And in Act 6, where you only have 5 missions to get 3 upgrades, it was pretty inconsistent as far as getting the purple grenades that we needed by the time we started getting to the end of the campaign. And things in Act 5 and Act 6 escalate very quickly. By Mission 2, Mission 3, you're already fighting monstrous Tallboys that are hardened. You can't stumble them anymore. Your grenades are pretty useless against them. So we've taken a step back away from them, and we are now running pipe bombs. And so even though pipe bombs are more expensive than grenades, because we don't really have any interest in buying any slot upgrades, a huge economic benefit for us. And thus we can now afford pipe bombs quite readily. 4 of them per mission if we really need to. And the reason why we've chosen to run pipe bombs over grenades now is 1, it saves us money. But also, 2, think about Act 6 very specifically here, right? We're designing this deck specifically for Act 6, and at the end of all 5 missions in Act 6, you have to do some running. You have to do some running. 4 of those 5 missions, we have to sort of backtrack to the safe room that we began at. On the 4th mission on Waterfront, you have to do like the run across the dam bridge and the dam bridge, and then like into the trolley area and whatever, and call the trolley. All 5 missions have us running. And so thus pipe bombs make kind of a little bit of sense. If things get sketchy in that run, that final stretch of the mission, you can throw a pipe bomb. Pull that aggro off of you, and you're good to go. Which then leads us into Run Like Hell and Fire in the Hole. Even though all 5 missions have running events at the end of them, we don't have any extra stamina cards. Actually, we have like pretty dang bare bones minimum here as far as our movement goes. And why is that? And now see how things are connecting together here. Connect the dots. We're running pipe bombs. We're running pipe bombs for various reasons, but also, too, pipe bombs fit so nicely into Act 6 because in those running sections, you just throw a pipe bomb, fire in the hole triggers, you get a little boost of health, boost of speed, and you're good to go. And all of a sudden, those final running sections which can sometimes be quite annoying, especially in the very first mission, becomes significantly easier because our throwable helps us solve that problem, helps us solve that specific problem that Act 6 is presenting towards us. In addition to that, with the pipe bombs, Act 6 has the holdout event on the rooftop where you have no good corner to stand, the holdout event at the planetarium where you have no good corner to stand in. There's some very tough holdout sections in Act 6 where having a pipe bomb to sort of alleviate that pressure and help us focus on mutations is a huge benefit for us. And so Act 6, I've come to discover, is a great mission, a great campaign for pipe bombs in general. So now pipe bombs are helping us save money economically. It's helping us deal with the running events. It helps us to also deal with the horde events. And because we're running pipe bombs, do we need grenade damage cards? Not. Do we need stamina cards? We cut them out because the pipe bomb is sort of like our pseudo sense of stamina. We don't need extra stamina because the pipe bomb just buys us that time anyways. And in addition to that, when it comes to stamina, I have not had any money problems for the most part. You don't always end up using all your pipe bombs, and so if you're having trouble still with these running sections at the beginning of Act 6, you get to choose 3 basic cards, choose 3 stamina cards, choose 2 stamina cards and a copper card. We can basically recreate having a stamina card in our deck in Act 6 by just choosing the 3 basic cards as stamina at the beginning. It'll basically help compensate for the lack of it. And so now with pipe bombs, between that, we can cut out potentially like 3-4 cards from our deck, cut out the copper card. But what are we making room for? We have pipe bombs. We have a little bit of sprint speed here. The problem now, right, the only problem that we really sort of have left to deal with, right, as far as like we can deal with the horde, we can deal with running. But how do we deal with Tallboys? How do we deal with high health mutations that smash us to bits? And so we have here an LMG DPS sort of setup here. Not to say that sniper DPS has gotten bad or it's not good anymore, but with the introduction of Film Full of Lead, which I praised highly, is one of my favorite cards in the game now, one of the best DPS cards in the game now, it has sort of made LMG focused decks way more viable DPS wise. Coupled with Phosphorous Tipped, LMG DPS, I'm not saying it's necessarily better or higher DPS than sniper DPS, where you're running like reload speed and bullet damage for a sniper rifle, but it is strong enough DPS that it allows you to deal with Tallboys very quickly and very comfortably without the need of grenades. And again, because Act 6 has a lot of sort of hard holdout sections, an LMG is great for those too. So we have LMG DPS may or may not be as good DPS wise as sniper rifle, but it's far more flexible in that it can both be anti-mutation, anti-boss, high DPS to deal with those high health enemies, and still be flexible to be used during a serious horde event. So maybe you don't need to use a pipe bomb here because you can just unload your LMG and swap over and keep yourself in the fight and things like that. Film Full of Lead, though, DPS, remember, is damage per instance, so bullets in this specific example, damage per bullet, as well as rate of fire, and Film Full of Lead gives us both of them. Phosphorous Tip, though, is a very important part of this equation because the main thing that we're always scared of when it comes to dealing with mutations is the Tallboy and the Bruiser, because we need to eliminate them before they get into our corner, right? So long as we can sort of stand in somewhere semi-comfortably, the bots will deal with the horde rather well and things like that. We got the pipe bombs to fall back into. It's really the Tallboy that shows up and sort of ruins our fun. For whatever reason, though, the Tallboys take bonus damage for fire. They like to get extra crispy. And I don't, I've done some testing with Phosphorous Tipped, and I don't want to throw out any specific numbers out there because it's a little wishy-washy. But for the most part, between Film Full of Lead, Pyro, Shredder, the bonus damage that we get from the bots having ammo for all, any other little sources like that, I estimate that we do about 100 points of damage a second once the Tallboy's on fire. Specifically, the fire itself does about 100 damage a second to the Tallboy, plus whatever lead that you have pumped into them, and all of a sudden, we're doing a tremendous amount of damage to a Tallboy that has, whatever, 1,500 points of health. They seem to be lit on fire for about 5-ish seconds, and it doesn't seem like it stacks, but if you can refresh it. So if you keep shooting them and keep setting them on fire, that 5 seconds never seems to come, and they stay on fire constantly. So all of a sudden we're unloading a high, blue purple LMG into them, plus they're on fire. It's a lot of damage, a lot of damage, and all of a sudden now we can very comfortably deal with Tallboys. But then let's diversify our damage here. We have flat damage from filling full of lead. We got the fire damage. We got that fire damage upgraded. Patient Hunter for bullet damage. Don't ADS and then wait. ADS and immediately start shooting. Just start shooting. The LMG magazine is long enough that the bulk of your magazine will benefit from the full effect of Patient Hunter. Again, our goal is just to eliminate a Tallboy by the time it gets to us. This is great though if you have any measure of distance, or if you can slow them down, which we'll get to in a second here. So, but for the most part, the LMG can shoot lots of bullets, and it will always benefit from the max stacks of Patient Hunter, at least for the last half of the clip, and we're fine with that, right? Shredder, so that we can apply, pay into the, but we got bullet damage, and then Shredder for the target takes more damage, coupled with the fact that bots have marked for death. But how do we get time, right? We're unloading an LMG. We're doing smaller bits of damage per instance. They're set on fire. We have Shredder. We have Patient Hunter. We need time. How do we get that time? Suppressing fire is one of them. Again, so the LMG focus here. If suppressing fire triggers, that's 50% movement speed is a huge loss for a Tallboy. Even a Tallboy that's mid-charge. Buying us time to keep shooting and burn them out. In addition to that, Empowered Assault, I think, is one of the best cards in the game now. Being able to basically stumble a Tallboy is great, and especially too where it seems like a lot of the times the Tallboy shows up, you start shooting him, he gets stumbled, and if you start shooting him fast enough, you'll stumble him with Empowered Assault, and then he'll still do his little roar, and all of a sudden, and then he's donezo. There's no way he's getting to you, right? And so we have lots of DPS here, and then the means of crowd controlling the scary mutations that are attacking us between suppressing fire and Empowered Assault. And all of a sudden now, we have the DPS capabilities that are similar to a sniper rifle DPS deck. Plus we have crowd control and some flexibility here. We shoot gas cans, we get health. We shoot red barrels, we get health. Sometimes every once in a while the fire from Phosphorous Tipped will burn out a common ridden. That'll give you health. Little trinklings of health here and there. That's actually quite nice. Not very consistent, because if you're just unloading an LMG, most of the time that LMG bullet is what puts the Tallboy down. But every once in a while you'll get little bits of extra health here and there, and gas cans all of a sudden are just a nice little boon of health for you. You get a nice blow up on a gas can. Plus also too, the flamethrower is a thing in the game now as well. So having pyro, it's just like there's more things than ever now in the game that can trigger pyro. And then we pick up admin reload. The harder the game becomes, the stronger admin reload becomes. Running admin reload and not ever being in a position where you need to mag dump your gun and then switch to keep mag dumping something else, admin reload just doesn't get its value, right? But again, in Act 6, there's some very difficult horde events that we have to deal with. In the first mission, the second mission, in the third mission, all have really tough holdouts where pretty much it's just near constant fighting in no hope mode, and they're kind of long in no hope mode. And thus, having the ability to mag dump our LMG and then swap over to a different weapon, whatever it might be, and keep ourselves in the fight, still shooting ridden. Also, too, like if you get a kill with your LMG, swap it over to your secondary. Empowered Assault will still stumble your next mutation, buying you time to get your reload done on your LMG. Swap back over, start shooting, you're suppressing fire again, and then you got crowd control, you drop it, you got another Empowered Assault, you're good to go. Admin Reload has sort of like always been a really good card in the game, but like I said, the harder the game becomes, the better Admin Reload becomes, because you're more and more consistently in situations where you need to keep in the fight, otherwise people are going to start taking damage. And so Admin Reload is great. It's great for LMGs. You never manually reload your LMG to swap it over. Let admin reload deal with it, and you can still keep yourself in the fight. When it comes to the LMG that we want to use, it's always the M249 is best. It shoots faster, it's got more bullets, so it stacks better. It's better DPS overall. We're always looking for the can of whoop-ass attachment because it shoots even faster. The DPS becomes mind-bogglingly quick. For your secondary, I actually just like the Glock. Not the Glock Auto, it shoots too fast. I like just the general Glock. Because a lot of times with fill and full of lead, I made a video about this, about how certain weapon combinations are better for fill and full of lead. When we swap over and our LMG is reloading, the Glock is one of the best guns in the game to maintain some like higher levels of fill and full of lead stacks. And again, fill and full of lead affects the Glock's fire rates also. So like it still shoots plenty fast to deal with the horde and things like that. Now out with the bang. For the most part here, we got the pipe bombs for crowd control. We got sprinting for the campaign problems. We got the ability to DPS everything, right? You sort of see all the problems sort of being resolved here. A little bit of utility now, sort of make our life at least a little bit easier. The bots each have 3 lives because all of them are running. Needs of the many. 3 bots, 3 lives. That's 9 lives in total. 1 bot, or our team of bots equals a cat. Boy, I messed up that joke. Anyways, Out with the Bang has so much value now. Any card now that operates off of, was it lives? Like a lot of these cards that operate off of extra lives, or when a teammate is down or whatever, these cards get, was it incapacitated? These cards get way more benefit now when it comes to like bots going down and things like that. And Out with a Bang is a pretty obvious one. We don't always want to have to be throwing our pipe on for crowd control. So in those scary holdout events, sometimes a bot goes down, and if he does, that bot dropping a pipe bomb protects the other bots. And again, it helps us to focus in on the mutations because we need to keep shooting at mutations when they show up. So for the most part, between our own pipe bombs and Out with a Bang, the second a Tallboys shows up, I focus on him. He's my only attention. And I just sort of trust the bots either way. Even in life or death, the bots end up sort of providing all the crowd control that we really end up needing. We only need to supplement with our pipe bombs every once in a while when things are getting kind of sketchy. And then cold brew coffee. Now, reload speed, aim speed, swap speed, these are all great things to have when running an LMG. Cold brew coffee, I think, is like a must-have include for any sort of like basic LMG focused deck that you might be running, because those are 3 main stats that we're always really interested in. We don't need a tremendous amount of reload speed because the reload speed is sort of diminishing returns, so 15%, it's good enough as is. Could use more, but it's fine, right? But all those 3 stats we really like, but then also the use speed. We don't really need a lot of use speed in Act-6, almost none really. But one of the hardest missions in Act-6 is the first one, when you're at the harbor. You have to plant the 2 bombs, the 1 bomb in the lighthouse, the 1 bomb in like the supplies. And the ogre jumps out of the ocean in no help mode. That is like one of the hardest parts of the entire mission. So I found that actually this little bit of extra use speed is just enough time to allow us to plant those bombs under the cover of a pipe bomb beeping in the background. And so cold brew coffee sort of fits into the LMG concept really nicely, and also sort of like just takes the edge off as far as difficulty is concerned. That really hard section in the very first mission. Otherwise, it's just a really nice quality of life to have. And then fresh bandage. Between the pipe bombs, not needing offensive slot upgrades, and fresh bandage, we have so much copper. And again, I still like fresh bandage because it just saves you copper per mission. It helps stave off, sort of push off the need for you to use a medicine cabinet every once in a while. Really like fresh bandage. Maybe it's a crutch at this point in time, but basically any little mistakes that you make, whether it's, close to perfection to, oh man, you've taken, whatever, 30 points of trauma for whatever reasons, fresh bandage just takes the edge off. Like, there's no other card in the game that really does fresh bandage so passively, right? There's like safe room recovery, which is kind of nice, but it's 7 trauma. How much is too little trauma? I don't know. But for the most part, like, fresh bandage is like a support in a single card, right? It's a support in a single card, and between the bots running amped up, between being healed in the middle of your mission and then getting healed in between, like, you have plenty of health to sort of go around, and extra copper to fall back on for the medicine cabinet. Still really like fresh bandage. It's just such a nice quality of life card to have, to sort of save money and to sort of like not have to worry about how much trauma you have and things like that, and trying to like maybe load up on pills to keep yourself healthy. So check this deck out. Super cool deck. Had a lot of fun playing with it. Different sort of concept. Get used to the idea of like throwing pipe bombs. Get practice as to when you sort of need to throw a pipe bomb. Things like that could be some good knowledge to have. Get used to Phosphorous Tipped and Film Full Lead, because I think if you're going to be DPS and you don't want to be Sniper, these two cards are must-haves as far as, fully automatic weapons or whatever, right? So a lot of fun running this deck. Act-6 was, fun to sort of play with this deck as well. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the future.